Today, I'm gonna show you my method to speed up my music production. After this video, I hope you're no longer be stressed because you just don't know what to do with your new project. I'm not gonna say anything obvious like use samples or loops from Splice or anything else. So let's get right into it. Number 1, use templates. You wanna make templates according to the genre you wanna make. Templates can save you tons of time, especially if you keep making same genre for a long time. You can load up your favorite VSTs, effects plugins, bus tracks, and even audio files like producer tech or vinyl noise. Let me show you real quick. So let's open up the Logic. As you can see, when I open up my Logic Pro, you can see that there are 2 templates, Soul Sample and Trap Beat. Let's open up this Soul Sample. I'll click choose. And it's already loading up the effects plugins and VSTs I open up in advance. So I'll just wait for a second.
A few moments later.
And boom, here we got the pre-loaded templates. As you can see, I already load up the Keyscape being upright for the Soul piano, and for the effects plugins I already opened up the Decimal 2 and EQ and preamp and RC20. There are VSTs, and as you can see, this wind chime, I already bring my favorite audio files right here and here, vinyl noise, and you can set the bus in advance. You don't have to do that like every time you make a new project. As you can see, for bus 11 it's a plate reverb, and bus 12 is for the spring reverb. And you can set the mix track or mastering track in advance. In mastering track, I already load up the tape emulation plugin, gain, and adaptive limiter. And I think there is no limit that you can do with your templates. Like in memo, I already got the key and BPM memo right here. If I make sample in C minor with, let's say, 60 BPM, and after I finish the sample, if I pitch it up or pitch it down or set the tempo at, let's say, 70, so if I pitch it up like 3 semitones, so it will be E flat minor and set the tempo like 70. When you have to export the files and you name it, it will be much more easier to memorize. So, and I think there's no reason you shouldn't use templates. Number 2, use channel strip. As you can see, I already load up my plugin chain for vintage piano. It will be totally waste of time if you had to set the EQ or the same genre, the same instrument every time you make music. I'll say this is not limited to EQ, it can be applied to preamps, reverb, delays, etc. Let's say I use vintage piano really often. I'll set my vintage piano plugin chain and use it as a starting point. Also, you can save your VST and effects plugin chain as a channel strip. So I guarantee that this will save you tons of time. Number 3, take notes of the sound you want to make. For me, since I make soul samples every day, I wrote down the features of 70s soul songs. And you can take a note about chord progression, rhythm, instruments they use, and entire mixing, anything you can possibly come up with. For example, for vocals in 70s soul music, they tend to use pentatonic scale for the main melody. And back then, they sound really crunched so that you can emulate that sound with RC20 crunch distortion. And they tend to use call and response with other instruments like strings, guitars, horns, and other backup singers. You can take notes like this of drums, bass, piano, strings, bells, and so on. And this will level up your music production and also save your time if you feel stuck and have no idea where to start. Number 4, use pre-made MIDI files. You can save drum patterns, piano, string chord progression as MIDI files. If you drag this MIDI file into your project and click no, boom, you can get your drum loop with a speed of light. Since Logic Pro plays the same drum parts on every note, one MIDI file can be applied to every different drum set. I'll put the links so you can get my 20 soul drum MIDI files for free. In case you don't use Logic Pro, I also exported audio files in order to make it usable for everyone. So check the link in description below. Anyway, back to the video. Some might say why you need MIDI files when you already have audio files. But I believe MIDI files have 3 advantages over audio files. First, as I mentioned earlier, MIDI files have a greater chance of expansion. With 20 audio files, you just get 20 drum loops. But with 20 MIDI files, you get 640 drum loops. As the number of MIDI files increases, the possibility of expansion will increase exponentially. Second, MIDI files can be used in different tempos. If you have a drum loop with tempo of 60, it could be challenging to use it in a song in tempo of 40 or 90. Because if you stretch or compress audio files too much, it will cause distortion to your sound. But with MIDI files, if you make a drum MIDI file in tempo of 60, you can use it literally in every tempo. Since MIDI files just play each note in VSD, the tempo won't cause any distortion. Third, you can use your own plugin chain with MIDI files. Some audio files already come out with effects limiting our scalability, but you can use your own plugin chain with MIDI files, so the sound of entire song will be much more cohesive and unified. Number 5. Last but not least, make as many as possible. All skills and know-hows accumulate as experiences over time. It is inevitable to spend enough period of time to make them my own thing. This part is something I always try to do, so I'm gonna introduce a little bit of how I do it. Since I wanna make 70s soul sample, I intentionally listen to a lot of 70s soul songs. When I take the subway, when I take a shower, when I take a walk, all the time, I'm listening to soul music. After listening to a lot of songs like that, if a song comes out that I think is good, save it and analyze it deeply later. Plus, I always try to experience new VSDs and effects plugins. Recently, I bought UAD plugin bundles, so I'm working on them to get a vintage sound I'm looking for. In this video, I showed you my 5 methods to speed up my music production. I truly hope the methods I taught you today will help you make better music. And don't forget to get your free 20 soul drum MIDI files, link in description. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.